So, as many of you know, this week I typically celebrate my birthday while we're here at ECWS, and I came into this week very thankful and excited about the fact that in my tribe I will be officially considered an elder. I'm more excited about that. Means I get to go to lunch first, and I get my elder's check. But after that, I'm also excited about our future. So let's give them another round of applause. So thank you again, Co-Presidents Serna and Kanuhsa, for your dedication not only to your peers, but to the well-being of Indian country at large. It is truly inspiring to hear how our youth have been so active and hold such high aspirations for themselves and their communities. Now it's my honor to call upon the President of the National Congress of American Indians and Chairman of the Pechanga Band of Indians, Mr. Macarro, to deliver his State of the Indian Nations address.
Meyuyam, Palavamu Echnai, Lavacha Piva Atwanat Iva Upum Ash. My relatives, honorable leaders, members of Congress, administration officials, and allies, I greet you with respect, humility, and gratitude. My name is Mark Macarro, and I have the honor of serving as the President of the National Congress of American Indians. I'm also the Chairman of the Pechanga Band of Indians, Payom Kawachum. This State of Indian Nations is more than a speech. It is Indian country's unified, formal message grounded in our inherent sovereignty and our government-to-government relationship with the United States. Today, we gather not just as representatives of our individual nations, but as relatives bound by shared history, shared responsibility, and shared destiny. We gather as tribal governments and as peoples, carrying obligations to those who came before us and those not yet born. We gather at a moment of profound risk, yet in every challenge there's also opportunity. And we gather with a unifying purpose, to build a strong and sustained tribal movement to protect the sovereignty of our nations, not for symbolism, not for performative meetings, but for results. Results for our citizens, our ceremonies, our lands, our waters, and for our children. Long before there was a United States, there were sovereign tribal nations, governments with laws, languages, economies, and lands shaped by the tens of thousands of years on this continent. Our sovereignty was not created by treaties, nor granted by Congress. It is inherent and existed before colonization. Treaties did not give us sovereignty, they recognized it. The Constitution did not define us, it acknowledged us. Federal laws did not create our rights, it memorialized them. And yet, for centuries, our sovereignty has been attacked, and attempts continue to constrain and diminish it. Yet our nations continue to govern, continue to lead, to teach, to resist, and to rise. We've endured removals, allotments, termination, policies built to erase us, and yet we're still here, still governing, still building, still rising. The fundamental truth that binds all tribal nations together is that we are sovereign. We always were, we always will be. Now, the United States is strongest when it honors that truth, not when it tests it. This moment, right now, echoes another pivotal moment in the history of Indian country, and that is the Indian civil rights movement of the 1970s, catalyzed by the American Indian movement, a time when Native activists occupied Alcatraz and Wounded Knee, when fishing rights families stood in the rivers to defend what treaties promised, when grassroots leaders demanded tribal control over education, healthcare, and child welfare, where everyday Native citizens, grandmas, students, veterans' families refused to disappear and just go away. That movement changed federal law, it reshaped the public consciousness, and ignited this modern era of tribal self-determination. That victory did not come from Washington. It came from the people. Today's movement is key to understanding what happens next. Without a plan, tribes will go from one crisis to the next crisis. Just look at the last 12 months. Like a GPS destination, if we know where we're going, getting sidetracked due to political skullduggery won't be fatal because we know our path forward. For example, the recent remarks about tribes by Oklahoma Governor Stitt are appalling. And that level of willful ignorance runs deep throughout America. If we don't have a plan for educating America, these ignorant pronouncements become truths. The sovereignty movement must be a people-powered movement rooted in the same spirit that carried us through the 1970s. And here in 2026, that spirit must show up as organized civic power locally, regionally, and nationally. Sovereignty is not defended once. It is defended every year, every budget cycle, every court term, and every legislative session, every time a state tests boundaries on our jurisdictions, not just by chairpersons and presidents, not just by attorneys and advocates, but by citizens, those who vote, who teach, who speak their language, who practice their culture, who defend their treaty rights, and who hold governments accountable. Now, for too long, Indian country has been forced to fight over scraps, to operate within systems that treat federal and treaty obligations as optional or negotiable, as if the resources promised to Native Americans were charity instead of payment for land and peace and partnership. For Congress to fulfill the United States Trust responsibility to Indian country, the entire tribal budget must be funded, an annual non-competitive based budget, or give our stolen lands back. Let's state this truth clearly. There is enough. There has always been enough. The only scarcity is political will. The trust responsibility is not discretionary. Treaty obligations are not optional. Native lives cannot be balanced against other priorities like an afterthought. The United States is fully capable of meeting its legal and moral obligations to tribal nations. Full funding for Indian health care, education, housing, infrastructure, law enforcement, and disaster relief is not a gift. It is the fulfillment of solemn agreements embedded in the founding of this country. That means that funding must be reliable, forward-looking, and protected from disruption. So our clinics stay open, our schools stay stable, our law enforcement stays staffed, and our programs are not whiplashed by uncertainty. And honoring these obligations is not only good for Indian country, it strengthens the United States itself. Indeed, as Indian country goes, so goes America. So, my message today is both moral and practical. Honor the treaties, respect sovereignty, and invest in what works, tribal self-determination. Now, sovereignty is strongest when we stand together. No nation stands alone. No court case is isolated. No attack on tribal authority is limited to one region. When one nation's rights are threatened, all nations must stand together. All nations must stand with them. So when a state challenges tribal jurisdiction, we will respond collectively. When federal agencies ignore consultation, our united voice must be unmistakable. And when policies are developed without tribes at the table from the beginning, outcomes are predictable: inefficiency, conflict, litigation, and harm. Consultation done early is not just respectful, it saves time, it saves money, and it builds trust. Unity does not erase our differences, it allows our differences to strengthen us. And make no mistake, we stand in unity with all of our relatives in Minnesota. To Congress, the administration, and allies, we did not arrive at this moment alone. Stand with us, not in words, but in action. Your partnership strengthens both us and the country as a whole. In recent years, Indian country has benefited from federal leadership, true allies who've consistently championed and defended tribal sovereignty and self-governance. The late Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell and the late Representative Raul Grijalva exemplify this. And we need your advocacy in every committee that touches our lives: appropriations, judiciary, natural resources, education, health, commerce, and homeland security. Because sovereignty is impacted everywhere federal decisions are made. And that is the work of this movement through the next 25 years. My relatives, if we're to build a movement that matches the magnitude of our responsibilities, we need an anchor at a home where unity, strategy, and purpose all come together. Well, that place is with the National Congress of American Indians. For more than 80 years, NCAI has been the unifying voice of tribal nations. And today, as sovereignty faces both new threats and historic opportunities, NCAI must once again serve as the movement's strategic center. It is the builder, it is the protector, and it is the amplifier. NCAI is where tribal nations translate shared values into shared action, across regions, across party lines, and across issues. Anywhere sovereignty is challenged, NCAI brings tribes together, coordinating rapid responses, developing shared messages, and ensuring Indian country speaks as one. In unity is power, and NCAI is your voice. This sovereignty movement cannot rest solely on the shoulders of its leaders. It must come from the people, the heart of this movement. NCAI helps tribes engage voters, train local advocates, build civic power, so every tribal citizen has a voice. Through fellowships, youth councils, internships, and leadership academies, NCAI prepares the next generation to carry the movement forward, just as young activists did in the 1970s civil rights era. Our youth are not merely the leaders of tomorrow. They are leading with us right now, and you saw that in these first two speeches today. They are revitalizing languages. They're advocating for climate action, organizing in their communities, and harnessing the power of social media unlike any other generation. Just as the young people of the 1970s filled the movement with courage and clarity, today's youth carry the next era of sovereignty. Our responsibility is to support them with resources, with mentorship, and with our trust. Finally, NCAI shapes the national narrative on all things tribal, ensuring that treaties are understood, sovereignty is respected, and the trust responsibility is recognized as fundamental to the American system of government. In this movement, NCAI is not simply an institution. It is a leader, a protector, and a holder of the vision. So today, I call on all tribal nations, all citizens, all youth, all elders, all allies, and all leaders to stand together. Demand full funding of the trust and treaty obligations, not someday, but now. Flex our sovereignty with our governments, courts, lands, and communities. Engage citizens and grow the political power of every tribal nation. Elections matter. My tribal leaders, lead boldly, govern without apology, and protect your citizens. Stand with other nations and remember who we are. To our tribal citizens and our youth, claim your voice. Vote, advocate, hold your leaders responsible. Learn your nation's story and speak the truth of your nation's sovereignty in your communities and schools. This movement is yours. Lead with courage, step forward without fear, and your ideas, bring your energy and your voice, because that's the spark that this movement needs. Your voice is power. Use it. Step up. Speak out. You're changing the world. Now, elders, continue guiding with us. Continue guiding us with wisdom, teachings, and prayers for our armor. Your wisdom is our shield. Your prayers are our strength. Keep reminding us who we are, so we never confuse urgency with compromise. Now, let us rise as one people, all nations and all generations, and across every division that others have tried to place between us. Let's build a movement that is bold, relentless, and unstoppable. Let's protect our sovereignty, not just for today, but for all time. Let's be good ancestors so that when our future generations look back on this moment, they'll say, they did not wait. They did not compromise. They rose, they fought, and they spoke. Tribal nations rise. The movement begins and nothing will stop us. We are the first people of this continent. We are sovereign tribal nations, and we will never back down. So let's walk forward together in unity, in strength, and abundance, and commit to one another that we will not just survive this moment, we will shape it. Thank you very much. Thank you.